you got a lighter? And I was like, no, I don't have a lighter. Well, I've got a lighter. And he brings up his hand just like this to my head and he goes, capiche? Hey guys, I'm Eric.
And I'm Grace. We're the Wandering Ravens.
We're a couple of digital nomads who have been wandering around the world for 3 years now, and we make videos about travel and culture.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the little bell icon to get more adventure in your life.
Today we're going to be running through a list of our favorite Britishisms. These come from our trip to England that we took last year. We spent 2 months exploring the Midlands region, and during that time we heard a lot of really colorful slang expressions, and so we're gonna share these with you guys. If we get them wrong, do let us know. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's do this.
Hissin' your chips. Now, from what we understand, this one means to upset someone or to make someone mad.
We heard this in the context of someone breaking bad news to us. So they were letting us know that things weren't going exactly the way we had planned. And they were like, hey, sorry to piss in your chips. Here's the situation. Did we interpret that correctly? Let us know. Dewonkifying. This is 2 idioms in one. First, we've got just wonky, which we don't really use in the States. And from what we understand, that means crooked, uneven. And then we've got this compound slang word, dewonkifying.
So the exact sentence in which we heard dewonkifying used was, we wrote it down here actually, because it was so unique. Americans spend loads dewonkifying their teenagers' teeth just to make them look better. We heard this in a cafe and it was really, really funny. We were like, gotta write that down. Yeah, we eavesdrop on tables all the time.
Slag off. The first time I heard this one, I assumed it was some kind of innuendo, crude innuendo, describing an activity between 2 consenting adults. But what it really means is to criticize someone, to say something negative about a thing or a person. And the way we figured out what this word actually means is we heard it in a different sentence. And a British person was letting us know that, quote, we love slagging off the royal family, but you can't do that. Only Brits are allowed to slag them off.
Noted. I mean, I had no intention of doing that, but you guys can love them and slag them off whenever you please. In a month of Sundays. It just means your chances of something are really, really slim. We heard this one used about a dog that was chasing birds. Somebody said he wouldn't catch one of them in a month of Sundays.
He talks for England, or he sleeps for England, or he drinks for England.
Or he eats for England.
From what we understand, this just means this is someone who does this thing a lot. Yep. He does it so much that if you put everyone else in England and had them all eat pie, and then you had this man eat pie, you would eat as much pie as all the rest of England put together. I would assume that you kind of use it in a negative context because it's usually not good to be someone who's gluttonous or
talkative that much. Yeah.
That was the context we heard it in, was someone was confiding in us about another person, and they were like, look out, he talks for England.
It's a bog standard place. This one is really confusing to someone like me. Like, I would never ever guess what that means. But basically it just means average, ordinary, run-of-the-mill. It could be said about like an establishment or a town, something like that. Like, oh, it's a bog standard sort of place.
When we heard this one used, we actually had to pause the person while they were speaking, and I went, I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. Bog standard.
I feel like that happened to me a lot when we were in England. They have so many more idioms and expressions and slang that you would just never ever hear in the States.
It's really colorful language. It's a lot of fun. I think the British theme when it comes to language is why use one word when 3 words will do? Bogroll. And when I heard this one used, I also had no idea what it meant, but it actually means toilet paper. So yeah.
I mean, instead of TP?
Yeah, bogroll, BR.
Bogroll, BR. Do you want to go BR someone's house with me this weekend? BR someone's car?
BR someone's car. In the States, we have this thing called TPing where we throw, delinquent teenagers throw toilet paper all over someone's house or trees and stuff like that. It just makes a real mess of the place. Do you guys do that in the UK? Do you call it BRing someone's house?
We're gonna go BR someone's house. That's another string to your bow. Now, we weren't actually able to get a 100% definition as to what this means, but based off of the context in which this was said, we assumed that it is said about someone acquiring a new talent. So like, oh, you learned how to do this or that or the other, well, that's another string to your bow.
Is that correct? If that's not correct, please let us know down in the comments. We don't want to be using this slang phrase incorrectly. Keen. This was a word which we knew. It's in a lot of books, we'd read it a lot, we'd maybe heard it in movies, but I had never heard anyone actually use the word keen in conversation. And so in the UK, as we were going around, we heard it used a lot. He's really keen at gardening, for example, or she's really keen at...
Or keen on something.
Oh yeah, keen on something.
Keen on something.
Yeah.
That's true, I hadn't actually thought of it because we know what this word means in the States.
Yeah.
But it's not common.
But we heard it a lot in the UK, and every time I was like, there it is again.
It's true! The books are right! It's simple as anything. This is just a creative and fun way of saying that something is really easy.
It was really obvious to us when we heard it, but we had never heard anyone use this expression before, and added it to our list.
We kept a list of things, of phrases, Britishisms, slang that we had never heard before, and anytime we'd hear a new one, it'd be like, write it down, put it on the list.
Fill your boots. This one was told to us when someone was serving dinner. They put the food on the table and they said, fill your boots. So from the context, I believe it just means, you know, have as much as you want. Go at it.
Eat up.
Eat up.
I think it's cool. I like this one.
I like that one too. It's really fun.
Someday when we're serving dinner to our kids, we're gonna be like, here you go, kids, fill your boots.
For the Brits in the audience, is fill your boots an expression that you can use in other contexts besides food? Or is it food specific? Let us know.
Bop. And this just means to dance. So the actual sentence that we heard it in was, after the party, we'll go down to the pub and bop for a bit. When I heard this, I was so confused. I was like, what? What does it mean to bop? It was just going around in my head. I was like, is this some sort of a game?
Yeah, in the States, bop is to hit something.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You're like, bop it! And then if you bop someone, it's like a bam on the head. Bop.
But I mean, I guess it makes sense for dancing.
Yeah,
it definitely does, yeah.
Bop, 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 bop.
Bop. Oh, that's terrible. Don't include that.
You got a problem.
This one is so, like, it makes me
trauma?
so worried. Every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, no problem here.
Of course, it doesn't sound like you got a problem. It sounds like you got a problem. In all the contexts that we heard it, it was blended together in a real quick, you got a problem?
Very confrontational, very aggressive.
Yeah, when we were visiting London, both of us had people on different occasions, different people, just, you know, you're sitting there at the pub, going at it with our fish and chips, and this gal's over there, and she looks at Grace, and she's just like, you got a problem?
It was, okay, now I know everyone's just gonna be like, oh, well, Londoners are their own breed, like, London people are different, like, we get that, we know, like, every city has city people that are different from country people, but yes, this was still frightening. And it's so aggressive and confrontational, even when you're not, like, doing anything, and all of a sudden you have someone in your face, like, shouting at you, you got a problem! And I heard people shouting it at each other, too. There were two guys getting onto the...
Tube? Wait, no. Tube.
Getting onto the tube together. And one of them was apparently jostling the other one, and it was just like, you got a problem, and let's take this outside.
We heard this so many times when we were in London, and I don't think, while we do use the expression in the States, I've never actually heard anyone say it besides in the movies.
Londoners want to hit someone.
I'm sorry, London. We did get that impression on multiple occasions. Story time. We were walking around London and I saw this really beautiful street. I was like, shoot, you know what? I'm gonna get a photo of this place. It looks gorgeous. So I pull up my camera, taking a photo, and then over my shoulder, over here, you got a problem?
Hey!
Hey! And this gentleman,
Gentlemen stretching it a little bit.
This bloke comes up right next to me and he's like, "You got a problem?" "No, I'm just taking pictures of the street, man." He was over here. I didn't even see him. I was taking photos this way. He was don't know.
Like behind us.
Yeah, he was behind us. And then he introduced himself with, "You got a lighter?" And I was like, "No, I don't have a lighter." "Well, I've got a lighter." And he brings up his hand just like this to my head and he goes, "Capiche?" Capiche?
I'll never forget, like nobody ever uses the word capiche, do they?
That was my first time hearing it.
It's just like, capiche? Ooh.
Yeah.
He says he's got a gun?
So I was like, "Capiche?"
Yes.
And we walked away. And I'm sorry for the horrible British accent, but he was a horrible person and deserves to be mocked.
How likely is it that this gentleman actually had a gun in England where people don't have guns? Tell us.
Yeah.
Because I want to know. I was like, do you think he actually had a gun? We don't think so.
I didn't think he had a gun, but I was like, I'm not gonna stick around and get a knife in my chest.
And find out, yeah. Be like, are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Do you really got a lighter?
I could've just been, "Dude, I'm a Yank. I've got like 3 lighters."
Pukka. For our American audience, do you use the word pukka? Have you ever heard it before? Do you have any guesses as to what it means?
Yeah, drop your comments down below guessing what pukka means before we say what it really means.
We'll give you a 3-second timer. 3, 2, 1. All right, so pukka means the real thing or genuine.
We heard it about, I want to say pie or sausage, something like that. Someone was telling us, "This place has got pukka pie."
Is that like a type of pie? I mean, that was my initial instinct. I was like, pukka, what kind of food is this?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It's a flavor.
Can it also mean like good or no?
I think so.
I feel like it can mean like good. Like, oh, that's pukka. Like, pukka.
Does that work? Can we use pukka to mean good as well?
Like, you're a real pukka guy.
You're a pukka gal, you know that? That was an American accent.
For all of you guys, so calm down.
First rate. I think this is basically a synonym for pukka. So something is really good. It's first rate.
It's pukka. Suffering from. This one is pretty like self-explanatory, but it's just not one that I've ever heard used in the States. The exact sentence in which we heard it was, "We're suffering from Munch Acts."
We heard this used when we were getting a tour of an old vicarage in one of the towns that we were staying in. And the gal was taking us back through the orchard, big orchard. And she was like, "We're suffering from Munch Acts this year."
We were like, "What's a Munch Act? Should I be afraid?"
Do they eat people?
And then we found out they're just like tiny
Miniature
deer. Yeah.
They look really cute. Smashing. And no, we're not talking about breaking windows. We're talking about stuff that is really good. So if you like something, you can say it is smashing. How's your food? Oh, smashing.
I better crack on. Now this one just means I better get going, or I better continue.
And in a similar vein, we've got I better tear on, which also just means time to go. I'm gonna tear on. This is fun visiting, but I'm gonna tear on. Ciao.
Come back, we haven't finished. He's a bit of a so-so.
He's not a good guy.
Yeah. Essentially that. He's not great. He's not smashing.
He's out smashing windows is what he's smashing.
He better tear on.
Yeah, we can slag him off because he's been a real bloke lately. Cad,
yes.
Yeah, he's been a real cad lately. We're getting it down. How are we doing? Did we use those all right? Chuffed. Chuffed just means you're genuinely happy.
The way it sounds to me, chuffed sounds like ruffled, like like I'm annoyed. It just sounds negative.
It sounds like chafed or chaffed, but it means happy.
Knackered.
Oh, knackered.
So I thought that this was about like getting drunk or something like that. Like, oh, we got knackered last night. Kind of like a synonym for plastered or something like that.
Yeah.
But it actually means tired. Yeah. Like, oh, we are knackered after that long day of walking.
Do you feel knackered right now?
I don't actually. I feel chuffed.
getting a bit long in the teeth. This one has a funny story associated with it. We were having tea and cookies with a bunch of older folk, and we were talking about traveling and all that sort of stuff, and I asked one of the gals that was there, and I was like, do you travel much anymore? And she was like, no, I'm getting a bit long in the teeth, so I pretty much just stay around here. That just struck me because we have another idiom that we use a lot in the States, just, you know, that has to do with horses' teeth, which is don't look a gift horse in the mouth. But I never heard a horse's teeth idiom about, you know, one's own age. Is this an idiom that you have ever heard before? Getting a bit long in the teeth? Drop your comments down below. I want to know if this is a common one or not.
If he fell down the lavatory, he'd come up with a gold watch in his mouth. This just means an extremely lucky person, no matter what.
Super lucky.
This person's super lucky.
The funny story behind this is that we actually heard someone say this about themselves. So they were saying, I'm the kind of gent that if I fell down the lavatory, I'd come up with a gold watch in my mouth.
And I believed him. I think so.
I believed him. He did seem like a very lucky gentleman.
He was not a cad.
He was not a cad. It's kill or cure. The full sentence we heard this in was, coming up those stairs can be kill or cure. From that context, I believe it just means something that is either really good or really bad. What's your favorite example of something that is either kill or cure? Drop it down in the comments.
A civilized time. Now, the full sentence that we heard this phrase in was, we're having quite a civilized time.
So what would count as a civilized time?
Whenever you're having a good time, I guess?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, we're having a civilized time. Or is it to say that you're doing something that's refined?
The context we heard this used in was, we've been playing bridge all day, drinking lots of alcohol, we're having quite a civilized time.
So maybe it's not necessarily just like, oh, we're having a good time, but it's like, we're having a classy time.
Yeah, you're doing something, playing poker or something like that. You've got to take the rough with the smooth. I think this just means you've got to take the good along with the bad.
Pissed.
Pissed!
Pissed.
I'm pissed!
I'm pissed. So in the States, this means like upset, irritated, annoyed, angry, all that kind of stuff. And so when I heard someone say like, oh, the police officer, even the police officers were pissed, I was like, yeah, the police officers were angry, that makes sense. They're like, oh wait, you Americans believe that pissed means this one thing, but in the UK, pissed actually means drunk. I was like,
the police officers were drunk?
no, that should not happen. That should not be a thing, but yes, so in the UK, pissed means drunk.
Question for the folks from the UK. Where on the scale of drunk does pissed fall? Like,
is it like tipsy?
Yeah, tipsy, pissed, plastered, or is pissed all of it? That's just not cricket. That's just not cricket.
That's golf.
They're playing golf. From the context, I think that this means that you're doing something that's not proper, it's not fair, it's not polite, or it's breaking the law. That was the context we heard it in, was a gentleman was telling us that someone else had broken the law and that it was just not cricket.
From the way I've heard it, this would be my guess, is that it's not 100% always just about legal manners, but it's also just like, oh, if he broke a gentleman's agreement or something, that's just not cricket. That's not cool, man.
Yeah, that's not cool, bro.
Something like that. Give it both barrels. This just means to give it all you got. Go really hard at something, full gusto.
Yeah, you're shooting, you got a double barrel shotgun, you're using both barrels.
I imagine like a barrel.
Oh, you thought like actual.
An actual barrel.
With both barrels.
Like, huh? I can't even lift one, let alone two. But yeah, the gun one makes a lot more sense.
Pop your clogs.
Crack on. No, it's actually not.
Well, it's kind of like crack on, but you're just cracking way on.
Any guesses?
To the non-British people in the audience, what do you think pop your clogs means? Drop your guesses down below before I spill the beans.
Or maybe we just shouldn't spill the beans.
Well, should we just not spill the beans?
We shouldn't. They can just guess. We'll leave it to your own imagination.
Oh, that's actually a really good idea. Let's do that.
Yeah.
If you don't know what pop your clogs means, drop your best guess down below. And if you do know what it means, go down there and start grading the comments and let people know if they're right or wrong.
Yeah, you can do the whole hotter and colder or warmer, you know.
Yeah, that's what I think.
When you're getting close, you're like, warmer.
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 Yeah.
Or
yeah.
we can let you know.
Yeah.
This should be fun.
And now we're going to turn the conversation over to you. If you've been to the UK or you just consume a lot of British media, what is your favorite Britishism?
Let us know down below.
Again, we're Eric
And Grace.
And if you want to get more travel and culture in your life, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified every time we release a new video.
Until next time.
Bezoos!